What's up, guys? Today we're going to be finally going over what is becoming one of my favorite specials in the game, and easily so far throughout the final shape the most used special in the game, which is the Call. That is a top slot rocket sidearm that takes special ammo and is strand, and this weapon has so many good perks on it that there's so many different god rolls you could get and craft on this weapon. And in this video we'll be breaking down all those different perks that you want to chase down and why the scene is just so good. So the first thing I actually want to jump into is the DPS of this weapon. I've didn't really upload when the Arc 1 came out or play that much, so I never got around to testing this myself. I just kind of want to see. I'm not expecting it to be great, and as we do the testing, the DPS was 38,000, which is definitely low for a special weapon and not unexpected. These things are more like hard-hitting primaries than they are DPS specials, which is perfectly fine, and they fit that role so well. So looking at the perks in the left column, there's gonna be a few that I think are the best. First being Demolitionist. As you guys know, Demolitionist is definitely my favorite primary perk in the game for left column, and the way you use this weapon is gonna be a lot like a primary. So that is definitely my number one pick. I think the second best, depending on what you're doing, would be Lead from Gold. I think Demo would be better for builds, Lead from Gold better for general play, just to help with the ammo economy of this weapon and be able to use it truly like a primary. And the secondary ones that I think are, let's say, from S tier to A tier, these are the A tier perks, would be Slice. Depending on the content and your build, you could get a lot of uptime on Slice and make targets do less damage to you and your allies. And that could be really good for boss fights and things like that. And the other one would be Strategist, which is a new perk, kind of like Demo, but for your class ability. Depending on what build you're using, you know, getting your class ability back could be something you want to do. So overall, I picked Demo if you're looking to make this about builds, and Lead from Gold if you're just kind of using it as a primary. Then if we move on to the right column, once again, a lot of great perks to talk about. The first of which would be Golden Tricorn, the one I want to use the most for a lot of different builds on Prismatic, but it's currently bugged and it doesn't work when you get strand ability kills on Prismatic. They just don't count as a strand final blow. But if you swap to strand and use the exact same ability, it does work, and worth knowing if you're looking to use it on Prismatic. I stay away from it from now. Hopefully that is addressed and fixed, because I really want to use it on my Warlock build I'm going to be uploading soon, where you would first get the ×1 by getting kill, and use the 3 charges of melee to constantly proc the ×2, which lasts for 10 seconds and is a 50% buff, which is huge on a special weapon. So that'd be the one I recommend the most once it is fixed with a lot of builds. So pairing that with Demo would make a lot of sense. And moving on to the other damage ones in the right, you could also use just straight up Drone Junkie, which will be a 33.3% buff. And once again would pair very nicely with Demo. Then for the two generic ones, the ones I would probably pair with Lead from Gold, the first would be Vorpal, just straight up 15% buff versus majors and bosses. Always be there, nothing you have to do. So that paired with Lead from Gold would just be a very good all-around combo where there is no activations, nothing at all, and both perks are just always there when you need it. Another damage perk that you could use is One for All. With this being a splash-based like rocket type damage, you should be able to proc One for All pretty easily if you're shooting towards like a crowd of enemies, and One for All will be a little bit higher than a Drone Junkie at 35%. So once again, that would be one I would probably pair with just Lead from Gold or Slice and just be like a generic all-around weapon, not necessarily for any particular build. You could also try multi-kill clip ×3. It'd be 50% just like Golden Tricorn ×2. And if you're using this scene like a primary, you could definitely make it work and just constantly have that 50% buff. But depending on the content you're doing and how often you're using the weapon, obviously that could be a little bit harder. And that leaves me with the last perk, which would be Hatchling. Hatchling with this weapon, most of the time you're not getting precision final blows, so it's only like spawn in on the rapid final blows in general, which I believe is 3. So you're not getting that much uptime on Hatchling on this weapon in particular. But if you're making a full out like threadling build on Warlock with all the different threadling things going on, you know, that could be definitely a good perk pairing it with Demo. So overall, the god rolls I'd be going for on the weapon. First, I'd be going for Demo plus Golden Tricorn once it's fixed. Right now, I'll probably just use Drone Junkie instead. Then the other one would be Lead from Gold plus One for All or Vorpal. Those would be the two main ones I'm going to be crafting. I've already crafted 3 of these zines, basically all 3 of the roles I just mentioned, but there are so many good combinations that I could see being good on different builds, depending on your playstyle, what content you're playing. This thing just has so many good perks all over the place that you can't really go wrong. And what makes these rocket special sidearms just so good is that their ammo economy is so forgiving in terms of their total ammo reserves, how much you get from bricks, and the way they work with special finders. If you just put on a special finder and a strand scavenger, you can truly use this thing like a primary, and 99% of the time you just won't run out of ammo as long as you're looking and picking it up. And that is why you see this thing being used so highly in every content in the game, including the contest raids. It was the most used weapon outside of Still Hunt once everyone got to the final boss. And most people use Still Hunt and this at the same time, like me. So even then, you just run double special because this one kind of functions like a primary, and you are still good to go. And yeah, I think you can make the case that this is one of the better specials in the game. It's not like a DPS special, but for how effective it is at what it's trying to do, it really cannot be matched. I think there will be one weapon, or maybe 2, that will surpass it later in this season act episode, whatever you want to call it, which will be the solar one, then the Martyr's Retribution. Those 2 things are knocking on the door for best special in the game. But for right now, I think it's safe to say this is everyone's favorite. And for me, with how good this thing is and how good the No Hesitation / the Raid Bow is, I find myself using the Call, No Hesitation, both of which are legendary. Then in my heavy slot, most time you use like Edge Transit or like a sword. So I just find myself never using an exotic at all for my weapons. It feels like you're just like breaking a hidden rule. It just feels wrong to not have a exotic weapon on. But honestly, a lot of my time in the final shape so far has been with no exotic on Warlock in particular. And it just feels weird, but at the same time, all these legendary weapons are just so good that they're worth using. And why force myself onto an exotic in one of the slots when I think these are the best in every slot? Anyways, I'm kind of ranting now. So I think that's me it for the video. Let me know which roles you're trying to get on this weapon or craft it down the road. Like usual, thanks for watching. Catch us next time.
Another battle won, on to the next fight.